All right.
Perfect.
Perfect. So again, good evening again. My name is Keisha Golden Cooper, the Director of Guidance for Teaneck Public Schools. And as you can see on the screen, we are here to talk about this wonderful opportunity that is available for our students in Teaneck High School, specifically our juniors and our seniors, my class of students that are coming through now. Before I even get started in introducing the fabulous two people here with us, I want to make sure that I recognize, obviously my superintendent, Dr. Christopher Irving. This was actually his brainchild. He envisioned having an ability to provide academic support and enrichment for our students around SAT prep, but just in general. And he tasked me with finding a program and a company that would work with us and really understand our vision in supporting the whole child and our whole student and ensuring that they are prepped and prepared. And in doing so, I was able to engage in a great conversation and relationship now with Horizon Education, who will partner with us through this journey for the SAT prep program for the seniors that is starting shortly and the juniors in the fall. And part of the emphasis behind this comes from our Board of Education. Our board president, Dr. Walzer, is always a supporter of all of our initiatives and ensuring that our students are supported, specifically coming off of the unfortunate pandemic, actually that we're still going through, just making sure that we have resources to support our students. On that end, I always start all of my meeting sessions, phone calls, and conversations just saying, I hope all is well with you and your families as you're going through this time. If you are in need of anything, please feel free to reach out to anyone within Teaneck Public Schools, because we are still working. The school may be closed, the building may be closed, but school is open and we are here to support. I will say my direct contact information now, and then again at the end. My email is the letter K, Cooper, COOPER, @teaneckschools.org. So, enough of the pleasantries, let's get right into it. As you can see on the screen, Horizon Education has partnered with Teaneck Public Schools to provide a virtual SAT prep program. And this evening, I have the pleasure to be joined by the founder and CEO of Horizon Education, Mr. Dustin Bainbridge. He is the driving force behind Horizon Education, as well as Mr. James Fleming. Mr. Fleming is the Chief Learning Officer with Horizon Education. So without further ado, I will turn over this portion of the presentation to Mr. Bainbridge and Mr. Fleming. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Ms. Golden Cooper, and thank you, Dr. Irving, for the opportunity. It was, less than a year ago where James and I were flying around the country providing parent seminars, getting to see parents in person, talking about student needs. And now it seems a little impersonal being able to sit behind a computer now and do this. But having two children myself, 9 and 11 years old, I can't even imagine what everyone's about to get into. So I appreciate the opportunity to entrust with Teaneck as well as Horizon to get your students prepared for. We'll start with the SAT, but really show you throughout the presentation how there's a lot of transferable skills to really create more than just an SAT test taker, really helping students really manage their skill sets in the classroom around taking their current course curriculum. I want to just walk you through tonight. Tonight's really about sharing this opportunity, the brainchild behind Dr. Irving, as well as the really driving force around what the Teaneck administration has been able to provide. Is at the core of it, obviously, SAT prep. There's a lot of uncertainty right now. There's a lot of uncertainty around when is my son or my daughter going to be taking the SAT? Are schools, potentially universities, optional? Around admissions, and really for us is to kind of help kind of provide you with some responses that'll help you navigate as well as getting ready to prepare for the SAT. And this is a unique opportunity because we work with public schools all throughout the nation, and specifically in New Jersey, Teaneck is really at the forefront of being able to offer these programs to Teaneck high school students. I mean, we get on a daily basis with this program handfuls of students surrounding Teaneck that aren't part of Teaneck High School that want to participate. So this opportunity is a big one. And typically SAT prep, which is, and we'll talk about the difference between prep and kind of content support and intervention, is very expensive. I'm a first generation college student. I know the costs that were associated. I grew up with a single dad in Southern California, and I know that growing up, I couldn't afford any of this. So to see the opportunity kind of access and bring this outwardly to more students is really the reason why I wanted to start such an organization with that. And to give you a little background on myself, really all I know is assessment and test preparation. I started after I graduated. I worked at the Princeton Review for quite a few years. And as we know, the name with Princeton Review, there is a kind of an understanding that it's a high cost, high dollar, but big returns. And so we're trying, our goal since the start of this is big returns, low cost. And so trying to find the happy medium with that has always been kind of the drive for this. And with that being said, because I was born and raised as far as the test prep world, I needed to find the best educators who understood the teacher in the classroom, who understood the educator, the administrator, and the parent who was on the other line of this. And so you'll hear both of us. This is my Chief Learning Officer, James Fleming. And James, if you want to say hello and kind of just share a little bit of background about yourself for the parents on the other line.
Yeah, I'm James. I am currently in Washington State. So I am a middle school science teacher at heart. I started in the classroom when I was 23, and it was some of the best years of my life. I've been a middle school principal. I've been a high school principal. I've been a director of assessment and accountability. And then for several years, I traveled around the nation teaching other school leaders how to master schedule and how to really focus on student need when building out school schedules. When Dustin came calling and said, I need somebody to really take this SAT content and move it to the next level, I jumped at the opportunity. So I am so happy to be part of this team and working with Dustin.
Awesome. Well, glad to have you, James. So I'm going to pass it off to James here, really to start digging into the meat behind the proposal that was put out by the district and how we responded and what things are going to be put in place for both seniors that are starting very soon and both juniors, and walk you through what the opportunities that exist, but also the expectation on the other end, meaning the student. And really, SAT support is like anything. The more you put into it, the more you're going to get out of it, like they always say. But James, if you kind of could walk us through kind of opportunities by grade level and share the differences, but also similarities with what each grade level will be getting.
Yeah, so starting with the seniors, we're starting senior coursework next week with a full-length practice exam that we're going to proctor online. So the design principles behind the senior course was to get in the most important experiences and the most important lessons, strategies, and skills to really make sure that seniors are prepared and ready for the November test that we are, fingers crossed, is going to go through as planned. We know what moves the score for students who are prepared. If your senior is at or near grade level and has a solid academic foundation, what we can do in about 16 hours with 2 practice tests is really unlock some of the strategy, the time management, and do refreshers on some of the content that they maybe haven't worked on for a couple of years, bring all of that together, and we can really see a good jump in scores between, even with just 16 hours of work and 2 practice tests. There's going to be a little bit of homework. There's going to be some ongoing maintenance that students can do, and we'll be offering some extension-less activities too. So if students want to put in more work than just what we assign in class, we'll guide them through that process too. Now with the juniors, because we're going to have a little bit more time, we can take a little bit more of a moderate pace. Juniors are going to have about 34 hours of instruction. And in that time, we can really go back and rescaffold a lot of the knowledge and skills that they maybe are still developing as an 11th grade student to support both what they're doing in class and to support how they are moving forward and getting ready for the SAT. And again, targeting that that March administration date for the SAT. Fingers crossed everybody's going to be able to take that. And over the course of that course, they're going to be also taking 3 full-length practice exams so they can assess, reassess, and then reassess again their progress towards SAT readiness. So moving on from that, we can see on the next slide.
You know, James, before we move on, there are two
Okay.
questions that came in.
Yeah.
One of them was, just so I can follow through as we're going through, how can I check that I'm 100% signed up for the course? So
Mhm.
on our end, at the end of the presentation, I'll make sure that I provide you with the email address and communication so you can reach out to us so we can double check on our end. So not to worry, we can do that for you. And where to also give the money and when is that due by. So that would be the School Bucks account. And there's one for juniors and seniors. And there's a slide in here when we get to that. I'll show you kind of exactly how to pay for that $20.80 to sign up for the course. And then we'll walk you through. If you've already enrolled, don't worry about it. We're going to walk you through it again just to make sure everybody knows on the line. But for those of you who weren't able to make the call who are watching this as a recording, we'll show you as well. So let me move forward.
And for the student who asked to make sure they're 100% signed up, if you'll make sure you stay on at the end, I'll check the list and I will private message you through Zoom and I'll let you know 100% that you are good to go. Okay, so thanks. Next slide, we're looking at the schedule that is going to be available for the seniors and for the juniors. So for the first two senior classes, we are doing it earlier in the day before regular instruction starts. And then once school starts, starting on September 9th, they're going to be 3:30 to 5:30 in the afternoon. All those are going to be Zoom meetings. And the same with the juniors. It's going to be after school on Wednesday, starting later September, continuing all the way through to the end of February with, of course, normal breaks. So in the Zoom meeting, it's a 2-hour meeting, but kids aren't going to be just sitting for the whole time. The plan is we have a team of teachers who are going to be conducting this stuff. So students are going to be rotating between breakout rooms, and so they're going to get a chance to hear from different instructors, hear a different voice, do some participation and some back and forth interaction. And as we get to the end of each of the courses, so starting about class 5 for the seniors and probably class 10 or 11 for the juniors, we're going to start having student choice. So we're going to open up 3 rooms, 3 different topics that students might need, and students will be self-selecting into the lesson that they want to participate for the day. And then it'll all be based off of the data that we get from the practice test. So we'll select 3 topics that we know the students need, and then allow the students to self-select into the right activity for what is really going to help them improve their strategy and improve their readiness. So in the beginning, we'll be telling them where to go, and as we get into the routine, we'll start letting them choose where they're going to go and what we're going to focus on during class instruction.
You'll notice here that the first, both courses start with that test number 1. And the design around that is really to get a baseline of where the student is at in terms of content-wise, where they're struggling, where they're doing really well in terms of their standards base. And so from there, we can build, they can kind of self-reflect and see, okay, where do I need to, change, what do I need to work on in order to increase my score. Once they go through that process, there's be a series of curriculum. So every class you see there is going to have a different set of curricular modules. So it's not like class one for example maybe math, and then class 2 may be focusing on reading and writing, class 3 maybe on the essay. But so everything's broken up so you can, by the time they take the entire course, as James mentioned, they'll cover the entire format of the SAT.
So if you haven't signed up for the course yet, your first step is to visit our website, horizoneducation.com. In the top right, you'll have the student enrollment. Click on that, and that'll take you to an enrollment page. When the student provides the student enrollment information, that immediately updates us that we have a new student signed up. There's 2 Teaneck courses. So you're going to sign up either for the juniors or the seniors course, depending on your grade level. But registration should only take 1 minute. And then your next step after registering with the Horizon Education course is on the next slide, which is to go to your School Bucks account and pay the $20.80. I had to stop and read that number. That is in your School Bucks account, and that is for grade 11 and for grade 12. So that go ahead, Dustin.
There was so 2 things, just if those links that were on the flyer there that you received, and that flyer is on the district webpage at the bottom. It's one of those flowing areas where you can click on the flyer. This is so make sure as far as 11th or 12th grade, if you do qualify for free and reduced lunch, then there's obviously no payment necessary. But one question that came in, there's a couple of students have asked via email when they sent us, is this a fully virtual SAT support program, or is there in-person training? Because everything that is going on with the pandemic across the nation, and Ms. Golden Cooper, if you want to kind of respond to that as well, just kind of what Teaneck is in terms of fully virtual, on how we're trying to meet the needs and follow the guidelines around that.
Absolutely. So thank you. So yes, the program is fully virtual, and that was actually the concept even going into it when we were doing the planning earlier this summer. And recently, this week, the school board has approved for our district to go fully virtual. So this coincides perfectly with how we will be providing instruction to our students. But regardless, prior to the decision to go fully virtual, that was the thought behind it, in the event that we needed to pivot to a full virtual model. So yeah.
And one other question, just to clarify. So the question just came in, which was around if I paid through school bucks already, do I need to go to the Horizon Education to enroll? And the question is yes. So either step works, but both need to be done, which is you would go and enroll. So this gets you into our system so you can have access to all the curriculum, the communication, everything that you need from us, because that way you'll be on the distribution list where to get your materials and such. And then to pay for the program, which that money would go to Teaneck Public Schools, you would then go to your My School Bucks account there. And so we'll be working with the administration team to make sure that those who are both in unison, meaning the ones who signed up for our course and paid, are matching together, so everybody gets on the communication, because there has been communication that's been sent out from us already around when to pick up your materials, how to access the Google Classroom and so forth.
And to that end, if I can add, for the students that do qualify for free and reduced lunch, there's no need to communicate with us. Once you register through Horizon, we have a shared drive or Google form that we're just making sure that those students that have registered are good to go. So if you do qualify, or if you're not sure, you can always send myself an email or Mr. Hollis, chollis@teaneckschools.org.
Awesome. Perfect. Thank you. So James, if you wouldn't mind just kind of sharing some of the exciting stuff, because you're the brains behind everything on the screen, if you wouldn't mind sharing.
Sure. So the foundation to our coursework is going to be both our online instruction that we are also going to be facilitating through Google Classroom, which is really an exciting evolution for us. This is, you guys are implementing Google Classroom with us for the first time. So both the materials hosted in Google Classroom, and there's actually going to be a book. And it's actually a nice, refreshing change from all of the time that we're spending online right now. The text is going to have our practice sets and additional explanations for problems that's going to go deeper and go beyond the instruction that we're going to do in the classroom. We'll talk about it, but then you'll have you're probably going to have 2 or 3 times per class session where you're going to stop and do a practice set out of the book, and then we can talk about it, and then we can move on. So it's going to be a really integral part of the instruction. Now, there's more in the book than we're going to have time to cover in the course, including 3 full-length practices that you can administer to yourself. So if doing 2 SATs or 3 SATs isn't enough, there's a whole nother 3 that you can give to yourself in the book and self-score. So there's 12 hours of fun right there for you. In addition, through our portal, you're going to have your personalized score report that's really going to break down your strengths and your opportunities for growth on the SAT and help you identify what items you can improve on in order to pick up your next score level. And all that's going to be hosted through a web portal. You'll be picking up paper pencil assessments at the materials pickup, because as of right now, the SAT is, in theory, still a paper pencil test, which means we have to practice pencil on paper strategies, how we're going to interact with that book, how we're going to mark up the text with our pencil in order to really practice those mechanical skills that go into a successful SAT testing. Ms. Cooper, would you be able to remind them about materials pickup times? I also have that if you want me to pull that out.
Yeah, so material pickups will begin next week. Monday, we're going to have 3. I'm just going to make sure I say the correct dates and times. We're going to have 3 opportunities for students and or their parents to pick up their materials. I am asking that if you're coming to pick up materials, obviously, that you bring some form of ID just so I can make sure that we're distributing the materials to the correct person, and also that we, continue to recognize our safety precautions by wearing masks and, maintaining I always say a physical distance apart, because we are not socially distant. We just have to maintain that 6-foot physical distance. So on Monday, it will be distribution from 11:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. and all distribution will be handled through the Cranford Avenue side of the gym. So you'll come to the lobby and you will see myself and hopefully another staff helping me out, but I will be there. So that's Monday, the 17th from 11:30 to 1. On Tuesday, the 18th, you can pick up materials in the evenings from 4 to 5:30. And then another opportunity on Wednesday, the 19th, which is the day that the course starts for the seniors. But I will be there bright and early for you from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. And if for some reason none of those times and days work, just email me and, I'll make sure that you get the materials to you. If for some reason you are having difficulty in getting to the school for whatever reason, email me. We have ways of making sure that you have everything that you need, as we've done throughout this entire time.
And all of those dates and times are in an email that you get from us as soon as you've completed the registration process. So you can all that will be written down for you, but I thought it was good to get it in here too.
James, can you address the first practice test that's occurring on the 19th and what that will look like for seniors?
Yeah, so the first practice test on the seniors is going to be next week, next Wednesday, and it is going to be a 3.5 hour online, 3.5 hour self-administered practice SAT. So I'm going to be on a Zoom. You're going to be on a Zoom. It's okay if your camera's not on. I'm going to be giving you timing cues and alerting you what section you should work on and give you the amount of time that you have. But it's going to be as much like an SAT administration as you can do from home. Then you're going to have your paper test booklet and you're going to have your bubble sheet. You're going to bubble at home. You're going to do it just like you would for the SAT, and then you're going to input those scores into our system, and then we will automatically generate a score report for you that you'll be able to look at before our first class session. So it's going to be a self-administered SAT that we're going to grade and provide analysis for you. It's in your best interest to make this as authentic as possible. No one's looking over your shoulder if you decide to Google an answer. But the purpose for the first practice assessment is really for you to understand what you know and understand what to work on. So challenge yourself to give yourself the test as authentically as possible. Stick to the time limits. Don't cheat and go over, because that you're really trying to figure out how ready you are for the SAT, and that helps us tell you what to work on next.
So I wanted to address some questions that came up as why take the SAT prep course? And James is going to talk about the next slide, just kind of setting them up as far as some transferable skills. This course is really building just even more than just how to take a test. There's obviously, we're coming up to kind of a time where there is a lot of uncertainty. We're seeing a lot of headlines around college admissions, this whole word of optional. And one of the things that I always say, and I always tell my own children, is anything that's optional in any sort of capacity, you should really do because you want to make sure that, we consider that mandatory. Standing out. While it's optional, there are going to be a lot of students who continue to take the SAT and continue to apply to universities all across the nation. With that being said, competing against in an application pool without an SAT score is going to be really, really, really tough to stand out above the crowd. It puts a lot more emphasis on your writing skills, puts a lot more emphasis on what you're doing in school. The SAT is kind of like, we treat it now as kind of, in a sense, the year of this pandemic is kind of like an AP test or an AP score, which not every kid takes an AP, but it's just to have that on your resume when you're applying to schools is ever so important. And most importantly, is it comes down to money. Those students who apply with an SAT score to private as well as public universities qualify for different series of merit-based aid. They qualify for a series of scholarships that aren't available without that SAT score. And there's going to be a lot of money that's left behind this year in terms of the whole scholarship pool across the nation because students haven't taken those SAT scores. So if as me as a parent, the most important thing is I know I'm saving for my 2 daughters' college tuition is it's taking these scores is most important because obviously for the financial gain of this. And that ties into obviously scholarships. The other unique part of this is from one of the questions is this is going to be 100% virtual, this kind of interaction. And this isn't a pre-recorded kind of you log in and I can compare it, I guess, because my kids are on it. At least we're in the last 3 months of school when they're at home, Khan Academy, which is an amazing tool. But that's more of an asynchronous learning platform, and which means basically these are recorded lesson plans, recorded videos where if I have a question, I get my response, hours later or the next day or never. So this is available to have build a relationship with these teachers and these who will be sitting in live coursework with your students. And this is only available to Teaneck high school students. And as I mentioned, from some of the work that we've done or doing in New Jersey, this is a huge opportunity. And this course in itself, open to kind of the privatized model where mom and dad would have to pay for it outside of Teaneck, is around $1,000. So that's what it would cost going to Princeton Review or Kaplan, taking the online course and getting the practice test and getting the online learning management system and your data analytics and your practice tests, all of those things. Because by the end of this, our goal, most importantly, is that every student who takes this test, they feel comfortable and confident within themselves. They know where they're at. They know what they can do, and they've pushed themselves to the barrier to say, okay, this is what I'm capable of, and because I pushed myself. And so, with that being said, these are the kind of core things. But with that, these are some of the things that we think outside of SAT prep that the students will get through the course that I'll pass along to James.
Yeah, and I think you covered a lot of this. Really, when we are preparing for the SAT, we are practicing what we call in education transferable skills. Skills that you learn once and then you can apply in a lot of different settings. And so the things that we are going to be reinforcing through instruction and through putting you on a schedule is things like the goal setting, connecting the effort that you put in and the outcome that you get, time management, the ability to self-advocate and ask for help, which is a new skill set in virtual learning. And let's be honest, you guys are going to be juniors and seniors in virtual learning all year, and you might continue to do virtual learning once you go to college. So the ability to self-advocate is different in a virtual setting than it is in an in-person setting. So this is a great opportunity for you to practice some of those skills. You're going to practice interacting with online educational resources. And the coolest thing about what we do and why I love our job is because this is going to build your confidence. You are going to be less intimidated and less worried about the SAT when you're done with us. But that's going to transfer to the next high stakes exam, whether it's a college exam or it's a professional exam for the career of your choice. This is not the last time you're going to have to take a big test. And what we're going to practice in this course is going to get you ready for getting ready for your next big test. Whether it's a chemistry exam your freshman year of college, or if you're taking a test to become a realtor, you're going to do this again. And now we can practice those skills.
Absolutely. So the things that we'll cover as far as the course itself in terms of the content pieces of it is obviously everything that has to do around the content, from SAT reading, SAT math, writing and language, the essay. We're gonna have a lot of data reflection. So every time you take a practice assessment, the unique thing about it is getting back your results by the next class. So you don't have to wait weeks and weeks. You'll get them back, and you're then going to self-reflect on where do I continually need to work on? What standards am I missing? Am I missing the mark on? And then everything is tying to strategies, timing, and content review, as James just went over from there. So everything. Now, one of the things I want to differentiate here are the systems of support. And this is why if you look at a junior class that's a little greater in length because we have more time, but I just want to, as the end user on the other line, to look at there's two ways to really build your skill sets on this assessment, this SAT, is to look at where your needs are. So when we look at an RN, when we look at score cutoffs, a 950 out of 1600, because 1600 is the highest score you get on the SAT, a 950 tells us everything we need to know about how we support a student theoretically. Anybody above 950 just really needs, what we see from that score is they have a basic understanding of the foundation around the contents that's being tested. They just need a little bit of strategy support, working on timing, reviewing some of the content, and they're going to see a skyrocket in their score. We call that test prep. Those students who are below 950, let's say somebody's scoring at an 810 out of 1600, where we see a little differentiation is they need a little bit more support on the content end. So the courses that we're offering, more specifically, you're going to see content intervention and support on the side with seniors, but a lot more on the juniors because we have more time to help build those necessary formats. For example, if we're going over a specific math question around the quadratic formula, and a student, let's say, who's scoring at a 360 in math, they may, we're trying to teach them a strategy. They may not know what even the quadratic formula is, or can't remember, or haven't really absorbed that information. So going back and really building those foundational steps is key for this. So there's a lot of support from multiple angles to make sure, by utilizing the data, that students get that proper support, rather than just throwing them into a blanketed course and just teaching to the middle of the room.
Well, that covers everything that we had, but we are definitely here to answer additional questions, or, I'll talk about the SAT for another 8 hours if you let me.
He will too.
I know I saw one question, just to clarify, paid in school bucks. So again, if you're having any issues at all with anything in terms of paying for the course or anything like that, please reach out to me, kcooper@teaneckschools.org, and I can assist in making arrangements. The other question was in terms of the registration deadline and payment due date. So initially, I was a little nervous on how we would be able to progress through if there were students that at a later time, after the first session, would they be able to still register? And I have been comforted and reassured that it's definitely a fluid registration process. So registration obviously is still open. So beyond, what's the suggestion from you guys? I guess, what is the best time obviously is to register so they're ready for the first class and can pick up materials. But what would you recommend as the last opportunity to really gain the maximum benefit from the course?
Well, I am never going to turn a kid away. I believe that even if you show up for the very last class session, you're going to learn something, and that is more than you knew that morning. Realistically, if you want to get the most out of this class, we need for the student to take the practice exam before the first class session, which is the 26th of August. So we're going to host a practice administration on the 19th, but really instruction starts on the 26th. And one of the first things you learn how to do is set a goal on the SAT, how to set your target. And so participating in that on the 26th is essential. So I would want everybody to have taken a practice test and given it to us with enough time for us to score it, so you can set a really meaningful goal by the 26th. If you can't make the 19th, get in contact with Ms. Cooper's office or get in contact with Horizon Education, and we will find a way of getting you caught up so you are ready for instruction on the 26th.
Awesome. There's another question in terms of if I'm unable to pick up my materials on those 3 dates, what should I do? Email me and I will make arrangements to get them to you, whether I need to, again, make sure that they're delivered to your home. If you're unable to, for whatever reason, get to the high school, or if we need to make another arrangement later on that Wednesday or right before class starts, or whatever the case may be, I'm very flexible and really want to support any student and every student who is going to take advantage of this program to ensure that you can reach some and achieve some success, which I know, and I'm so confident in this program. We've vetted many programs, and I've spoken to different companies and their CEOs, and I just knew from my first conversation with Dustin that Horizon was going to be a good fit for Teaneck. Definitely looking at supporting the entire student, being very flexible and working with school administration, myself, and just ready to prepare a full course for their students. And then meeting James along the way, just again reassured and reaffirmed for me that partnering with Horizon Education was the best option for, I call all the students my students, or for all of my students, because any program that I put out or that I'm putting my name behind, it means it's something, that I would endorse and have my children enroll in.
Can I offer one last ditch opportunity? If you are socially distancing with grandma and you are out of the area right now, we can get you a PDF of the exam. You can write down your answers on another piece of paper. You'll still be able to interact fully. It's a little bit harder for you to take a 3-hour exam off of the screen, which is why we want to give you the paper. But if you are nowhere near Teaneck right now and you are watching this from Pennsylvania, we will find a way of getting you so you can keep up with the course.
And one other thing I want to mention, when you go to our web page, horizoneducation.com, there is a little green button on the bottom right. And that is basically a live person, typically somebody who works in operations. If you have any questions about the course, if you have any questions about you can't log in here, you can't remember your email, you can't have access, always feel free to just click on that button, because you'll have somebody will always respond to you as far as being able to have access. It may take us 30 seconds, a minute or so, or if it's late at night, we'll get back to you first thing in the morning, but we'll make sure that somebody is always on call who's set up to support Teaneck students. And that'll be found on horizoneducation.com, and there'll be a little green button at the bottom right that you can talk to somebody.
Another question in there, again, I believe we already covered it, but just to, reassure, also, where do we give the money, and by when is the due date? We kind of covered that. You would log on to, after you register on Horizon Education, you log on to Schoolbucks. And if you're having issues with your Schoolbucks account, actually by now, if there is for some reason any issue, just reach out to me and I will connect you with whomever you need to in order to enroll. So one thing I just want to, if Dustin and James, if you can just indulge me in it and just talk a little bit more about the transferable skills. When we put out SAT prep, and we talked about a little bit before, we started this evening, just the importance of the transferable skills. So while someone may be thinking that, again, as was mentioned, the college that I'm interested right now is test optional, but some of the transferable skills. And as you reiterated again, I also want to mention, this is also an opportunity for, especially for the seniors, to kind of ease back in to instruction. We are going virtual when we start in Teaneck on September 8th. So it is an opportunity to kind of get back into the swing of things, so to speak, as well as learning some valuable skills. So if we could just kind of go over that a little bit more about the transferable skills.
You're on mute, James. Oh, there you go.
I would love to talk about one of my favorite aspects of the transferable skill set, which is stress management. So stress management has a really detrimental effect on our executive function. Executive function is the operation within our brain that takes our limited resources, because our brains do not have unlimited capacity. We have a limited resource. And when your executive function is working, it's allocating resources between 3 different areas. It is allocating some of your resources to active memory. Can you reach back in your brain and pull the facts that you need? It is also allocating the same type of resource to flexible thinking and problem solving. Can you take something and flip it a different way in your head and come at it from a different angle to apply it? Can I try a different strategy? Can I be flexible in my thinking? And then the third one is impulse control. And that impulse control is when we're taking a test, you just don't dive in and try to answer every question as fast as you can, but that ability to sit back, be strategic, and know which items are worth your time and which items are not worth your time. So executive function takes a finite amount of resources and allocates them to those three different processes. When your brain is experiencing stress, it takes the resources in that pool and takes them right off the top, because now those same resources are going to managing your stress. So all of a sudden, when you are stressed, you cannot remember things that are in your brain, or you cannot think about a problem in a new way. You get stuck trying to solve it one way instead of attacking it from the side. Or you forget strategy and you just go brute force. Instead of being nimble and agile, you just try to pound your way through the test. And so one of the best transferable skills that we can help students develop is this ability to manage your stress in a timed situation. And we give you techniques, we practice this. So much of this is just raw practice. You've got to get used to being under pressure. And so when we give you the structured ability to manage your stress, you are reallocating brain resources to those other three functions. And those other three functions work so well in an assessment setting. So if you get your stress under control, you are better equipped to manage any test or any high stakes situation. It could be on the golf course, it could be in a performance, it could be in a test. You are better equipped. You're training your brain to manage stress.
Awesome. And talk about the goal setting. So I want, and how that, just talk, I'm familiar and I know we are, but just talk a little bit more about the goal setting aspect of it.
Setting a really reasonable goal is one of the key components to getting a really successful program set forward. I think there's a lot of great colleges and universities out there that even I couldn't get into today because I don't have the scores if they're looking at their SAT scores. But understanding the process of setting a goal and then backwards mapping from a goal. Let's say, oh, I really want a 1200. I'm starting at a 910. And I wanted 1200. Okay. You just don't hope to get a 1200. You don't hope to pick up 290 points. So we practice the craft of setting a goal of 1200 and then breaking it into two smaller goals. I want this on math, I want this on English, and this on reading. Then from there, we map that back to, that means I need to get 12 more math problems right. I need to get 8 more right on the reading. I got to get 6 more right on the writing. Then we go down the next step and say, where can we pick up 12 more math problems? Well, it's not going to be the high-end math because that's not my strength. I'm not going to magically learn the unit circle in the next 2 days, but you know what I can do? I can get more precise and I can get faster at heart of algebra content. So it's that process of setting a really good goal. I want a 1200, but then we break and break and break and break into each thing being a little bit of a tidbit that we can tackle. And then all of a sudden your goal turned into a list of things to do by backwards mapping. And again, if you can do that for the SAT, that means you can do that for the AP. That means you can do that for the college admissions process. That means that you can do that as you're preparing for a performance or preparing for an athletic event. That process of knowing what you want and then being able to backwards map it into steps that you can do today, super important as you become an adult.
Awesome. Backwards design. Love it. Love it. Love it. So there's another question that actually came up regarding the Google Classroom code.
Yeah, I got that from a participant named Joshua. And if they tell me if they're a junior or senior, I can look into that and I can make sure that all of that gets linked up. I'm just waiting for a response from that student.
Okay, awesome. So we have a couple more minutes. I don't know if there's another senior. Thanks, Joshua.
Yeah. Okay. I will follow up with you separately, so we don't have to talk about your business in front of everybody, but I will make sure that you are there.
So I don't know if there are any other questions. I don't want to, it is Friday night, so thank you guys for joining us. I want to, though, make sure I closed with just a couple key points, that the program for seniors, while the, official kickoff date is next Wednesday, if there is something that is prohibiting you from being able to start next Wednesday, just reach out to any of us, to all of us, and we'll figure it out. Also, the materials pickup, I believe, do we have a slide for that? Or
I did drop it into the chat, and it is in the email that they've already received from us if they've already registered.
So the materials pickup again is Monday the 17th from 11:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. The 18th from 4 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. and the 19th from 8 to 9 a.m. And again, if for some reason those times and dates don't work for you, just send myself an email, and we'll make it happen and make it work. Okay.
And to that student who is having trouble getting into the Google account, I'm getting the same error that they are. So I will be emailing you separate, and I will figure out what the problem is, because you're probably not the only one. So thank you for being my test case, and we will work on this together.
All right. So, but before we close, I'm going to give again a shout out to all of you that are joining us live, and those who will be watching it, after we've aired or after now. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please reach out to any of us, and we will make sure we assist you. Also, this is I just completed my first year last year here in Teaneck, and there are some ways that I want to make sure that I connected and stayed connected with the students and the community. So if you're not yet, we do have an Instagram and Facebook page. Both are Teaneck School Counseling. So please hop on and follow us on Instagram. I know the grams are for the students. I was told by a student a couple years ago that Facebook is for middle-aged moms, so I'm okay with that. So parents, we will flow where we need to flow, and students, I'm there for you as well. Also, if you have not joined the Google groups the Google Classrooms, the Teaneck Google Classrooms for your grade, I will make sure that we get that information. Maybe assist if you guys can help, just make sure that I get that out to the students, because we constantly posting, especially scholarships and any information and updates. One of my goals in coming into this position is ensuring that communication is key, and that we are sharing any information that we have, making sure that the resources that we have available, our families and students are aware of them. Okay. Exactly how do you pay via School Bucks account? When you log on to School Bucks, everyone should have a School Bucks account. So your School Bucks account also, for example, is how you paid for the Chromebook deposit. So that's the same type of linkage for the School Bucks account. But again, if you're having issues with your School Bucks account, just email myself or Mr. Hollis, C Hollis, HOLLIS @teaneckschools.org. But just try to get onto the School Bucks account that is linked onto the flyer. I'm not sure if you guys have it linked on your website during the registration process. Do they see that?
No, it's on the flyer. So two ways to get the flyer: the one that was either sent out by the district or the school. But if you go to the district website, the Teaneck Public Schools district website, at the bottom, you'll see the flyer, and you can actually access it directly from the Teaneck Public Schools district website at the bottom on the main page.
Yep.
There's a flyer there.
The flyer is everywhere. The flyer is on the main page under the views and events. The flyer is on the high school page directly under one of the current articles. The flyer is on Facebook. The flyer is on Instagram. The flyer is everywhere. So, and if you still are having some issues, I emailed it out via Naviance. I sent it out via School Messenger last week as well. I will send it out again on Monday morning through all those sources. So if you're not receiving your Naviance emails, email your school counselor. If you're not receiving the district emails, check your setting in Skyward, because you may either not have your district email in Skyward, or on your receiving end, you have Teaneck blocked. So those are some of the communication gaps that may be existing that that we can help to remedy. Okay. Did another question just pop up? Thank you. It's under our latest news subtitle. Thank you, whoever student is, and this whoever student is, student found it. I'm happy, student, that you found it. Awesome. So before we close, again, I hope all is well with you and your family out there. You know, I'm a big proponent of saying that we are not socially distant, we are physically distant, but we are socially try to stay connected with each other. You know, one of my biggest things is make sure you stay connected, try to stay positive during this time. We are here to support you at Teaneck. If you need anything, please, if you, your friends, someone you know need something, please reach out to someone. All of the building principals we are back. I've never left. The school counselors will return back on September 1st. At the high school, we do have at least one school counselor on for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, every week for the summer. So we are here working for you. In closing, again, I would like to thank my superintendent, Dr. Irving, for supporting this endeavor, our board president, Dr. Walzer, as well as the entire Board of Education and the entire executive team who supports me in all of our endeavors. So again, thank you so much and be well.
Thank you.